It's really nice to be able to work with a medium that's so rooted to my own culture. That's not something that was invented in Europe or that was not a traditional art form. Being able to be represented in this craft, in this object that's so present in people like myself who identify as Mexican American, and they're telling stories that you can associate with. My name is Diana Benavídez. I'm a binational artist from the San Diego-Tijuana border region, and my medium is piñatas. The first time I got introduced to piñata making was when I was around 12 years old. Back then I lived in Tijuana with my parents, and in that same block there was a Mexican candy store that not only sold anything that you needed for your parties, but also they made their piñatas in-house. And in the back of the store, there was this really dark area where they built their piñatas. And the owner noticed that I was kind of curious about everything that lived back there. I was like, what is this? So I sat with her and she was teaching me the process, and I was like, wow, all this time and energy goes into these piñatas, and they're gonna be broken and thrown away. And it was sad. It was sad. At that moment, it did change the way I saw piñatas, and I really started to see them that they were sculptures. My initial thought was, okay, I'm gonna create regular piñatas and see where it goes. And I had a lot of fun recreating basically everyday objects and turning them into piñatas. But then I started to think about the possibilities of including gadgets or maybe materials that are not commonly found in piñatas. I think that piñatas are humorous by nature. They're funny, they're quirky. Often, depending on the aesthetic, it can be really silly. It's really no surprise that they made their way into political art. It's just really hard to not have, that combination of joy and violence in a piñata. There's always a constant flow between the two countries. And I wanted to pay homage to that binational landscape that I've been exposed to since a very young age, being in the car for several hours before your cross-border commute. I bought a remote control car, and I took it apart, and then from there created a larger car. You see the everyday commuter as the border crosser, La Migra as the presence of surveillance of the border, and then we have the Guayna as something that's part of the commute in Tijuana. I feel like piñatas are associated with happiness and celebration, so they're a good medium to work with because the audience approaches them in a way that they're not intimidated by them. There's gonna be room for contemplation, for dialogue, to think about these very tough subject matters. I did a body of work called Text Me When You Get Home. The subject matter on that exhibition was mostly on everyday objects that women resort as a self-defense object or mechanism or as part of their rituals in order to navigate public spaces, At a very young age, my mom taught me how to utilize the keys in between my knuckles in case anyone were to attack me. So I thought about those little objects that we carry. As part of the body of work, I have this set of shoes that say it's very late to be out at night. It's just those little things that women have to consider before leaving their houses, which is very unfortunate, but how I've been using piñatas to tell those struggles and those personal stories, personal narratives that seem to resonate with more than just one person. They're displayed like a regular form of art. And I think that definitely changes the way that people will interact with a piñata moving forward, not seeing it as a party commodity, but also as a way to tell different stories about identity, about living here in the United States as Latinx individuals.